What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And, of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. Hope you all are doing well. It is February 7th, 2025. So if you're watching this in the future on a pre-recorded episode, you know when this aired. So if you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like on a video. Lets us know we're doing a good job. If you have an idea for an episode, please go ahead and email us at info@skywatchusa.com. Title it What's Up. And if you like what you see here and you want to support the channel, head over and subscribe so you can be all a part of it. So hooray. Happy Friday, everyone. If you want to stay up with what's going on here, you can head over to skywatchusa.com and hit subscribe and save up at the top, and you can join our email list. It keeps you in the loop of everything that's going on. If you want to do more, of course, you can always go to skywatchusa.com and buy a telescope or a mount. I don't know if you've been eyeing a refractor lately, but this is the craziest refractor sale we've ever done. Most of our refractors are on sale right now. And the savings on these things are nuts. I mean, these haven't been, I don't think any of these have ever been that low. So if you're looking for a refractor, these are all on sale right now. You can head over to your favorite dealer or our website or whatever. You can support us that way. Thank you. Or if you want to do something a little bit more cost effective, you can head over to skywatch.threadless.com and you can pick up a cool shirt, some swag, whatever floats your boat. Yeah, hopefully there's something there for everyone and exciting things. So thank you very much. All right, let's get started with today because we are announcing TOTM 2024 winners today as well. Our team has gone through the images. Our guest judges have gone through the images. We brought it down to the top 12, which will be showing all top 12. And then we have our three winners. So we'll be going over those at the end of the episode. If you're not watching, you'll get an email that tells all the stuff that's going to happen. But yeah, so excited to do that. This is the first time we have ever done the TOTM contest. Everyone knows if you're doing target of the month that we give you a challenging target. You take a picture of it, you send it in, and we send you a limited edition patch for that year. For our people who entered for December 2024, we have that list together. We just need to ship the patches out. It's just year end makes things kind of difficult. But we have the list together. We will get your patches out here shortly. And for our January people, we're putting the list together and we're waiting for the new 2025 patch to arrive, and we will get those out to you as soon as those get here. So there you go. So we'll go into that in a little bit. All right, so let's head over to the brightest thing in the evening sky. That would be the moon. If you're new to astronomy, that's called the moon. Big white large golf ball in the sky generally obstructs you seeing really cool faint things, but you know, whatever. So new moon, when there's no moon in the sky, it's very dark, and all of us deep sky observers and imagers go out to the middle of nowhere and look at little faint fuzzy balls. That is February 27th. At the end of the month is when we have new moon. The dark sky weekend is a little weird this month, February being a fairly short month anyway. So our dark sky weekend is actually the 28th into March 2nd. So right at the tail end of the month is really the dark weekend. Actually, it was this past weekend would have been the better one, but whatever. Either one would have worked. So it's perfectly fine. But if you're heading out to dark skies, you're probably going out at the end of the month. Now, full moon, when the moon's nice and bright in the sky, is February 12th, just before Valentine's Day, so next week. And that is the snow moon. That's due to the large amount of snow. It's cold outside. I mean, here in Arizona, there's no snow, but, you know, such is life. So, but yeah, no snow here. But this is called the snow moon If learning the names of the full moons, if you do outreach or something for schools, is a great little thing to do. You can head over to like farmersalmanac.com and learn about all the different full moon names. And you'll find that every full moon has like their general name that they're gone by. But then there is also a collection of other ones depending on the culture. So it's really kind of a cool way to blend culture in with astronomy if you're doing events. So Farmer's Almanac is a great place to go in and read about all of that. I'm sure there are plenty other places online that you can learn all about the different full moons and the folklore behind it. Planets. So I'm sure everyone has heard about the parade of planets in the nighttime sky. It's kind of obnoxious in one way. I'm sure many of us are like, oh boy, the media's talking about the blood moon again, or the super moon, or the parade of planets. They make a big deal about something that's probably not a big deal. And I totally understand where everyone's coming from on that, where it's like, it's not really that big of a deal. And I'm right there with you. But we do have to give some thanks for getting some airtime for our hobby of ours and getting people to go outside and actually look up, whether it's a blood moon or the full moon or the whatever moon, or the parade of planet, whatever it is. There is something to be said that our hobby, our interest is getting airtime, and it's getting people out looking up at the sky. So that's my thought on that. But, so the parade of planets, that's going on right now. Let's bring up Stellarium. Boom. If you've never played with Stellarium before, it's a free software that you can download, and it's a planetarium software. You can control telescopes as well with this, and go do all kinds of fun stuff. So this is this evening. So if you haven't been out lately, Saturn is basically coming to the end of its season right now. It's been a good show. The rings edge on, but it's getting quite low in the western sky in the early evening. So by 8 o'clock, it's pretty much gone. And that's right over there near Venus as well, which Venus, you can't miss it. A big, bright, naked eye object. You can easily see Venus floating out there in the world up space. Not far between Saturn and Venus is also Neptune. Neptune is a much larger planet, of course, but it's much further away, and it's also a challenging object to see. You do need a telescope, but I found it's usually a telescope of probably 6-inch in aperture or larger is beneficial. It is quite small. It's this very small blue little ball floating out there, but Neptune's floating out there too, but it's all getting really low right now for Saturn and Neptune. We're kind of coming to the end of the season for these guys. Now as we head up higher, up near the Pleiades right now, we have the planet Uranus. Uranus is a fun one to actually show people, not because they make jokes about it all the time, but because it actually does look like a planet. And if you're looking to make a little bit of side money, you put a Uranus jar joke next to the telescope and say, for every dumb Uranus jar, every dumb Uranus joke you've ever heard, you put $1 in there, and you'll have your fancy telescope in no time. You can take that idea and run with it in any way you want. But the planet Uranus is not too far from the Pleiades. It is a fun one to observe because it is easier than Neptune is, and it's just this kind of palish blue tone, but it actually does look like a planet, little spherical thing floating out there. So it's a cool one too. All that. Stop joke shaming. Do you know who I am? No, I'm just kidding. So we're keeping it light and airy. So next up to the Pleiades, nice and high. It's a perfect time to get out is Jupiter. Jupiter's at a nice position right now if you're doing serious observing or imaging of the planet. So Jupiter is in a perfect position right now to take a view of that. And then, of course, as we move further over into Gemini, we have the planet Mars, which isn't the best it's looked in the last few years, but it's the views I've been looking at lately when doing events. You can see the ice caps, you can see dark details on it. It's a pretty decent view right now, especially if you can get up to like 200 or 300 power on your telescope. Mars is a very awesome thing to look at right now, so highly recommend getting out there and checking it out. Let's see. Question: will objects from a light polluted environment will look brighter and crisper in a 6-inch reflector compared to an 8-inch reflector, since the larger mirror will gather more light pollution? I've heard this go both ways. To me, aperture is aperture. And observing planets, particularly bright objects, it's all about resolution. I don't know that I've really found that the light pollution affects one aperture size more than another. I actually find that aperture helps cut through it better. More aperture also gives you the ability to have filters and make them more prominent when you utilize them. The more light that's going through them allows them to be more effective. So I've actually found, even when I bring out the big Dob that I've got in a light polluted location, I am able to get in and dig in more, even in a light polluted location. So the view is definitely hindered by light pollution, but I do find that aperture actually helps overcome it a little bit more. So I would prefer the aperture even in a light polluted location. However, when you're viewing planets, I actually find the best time to view a planet is during dusk. It's because your eye is not as dark adapted. And I also have friends of mine that were hoping to actually get on the show here soon to talk about this very thing, where maybe you don't want to be dark adapted when viewing the planets or double stars or something very, very bright, because as your eyes open up more, you're getting more light, and it's almost like you're overexposing the eye. So I actually find that the best planetary views I've ever gotten, regardless of telescope, are actually during dusk, as the sun is just going down, the belt of Venus is just coming up. It's not dark. Some of the stars aren't even visible, but you can start to see the planets. That I find I see the most detail, and the aperture will definitely help out with that. So hopefully that is helpful. So yeah, we've got the usual parade of them. Saturn's getting low. Neptune's low. Venus is looking pretty good right now. It's starting to go into a crescent phase, which is my favorite time to view it. It's just really cool to see that. And then, of course, we have Uranus, Jupiter, perfect position for Jupiter right now. And, of course, Mars bringing up the tail end right there. So definitely a good time to get out. This weekend, you'll be able to hit all of them. But, yeah, so sounds like a business case for aperture mask contact lenses. There you go. But yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on this month. You'll have a nice pairing with Mars and Jupiter coming up in the next couple days. They won't be super close, but on the 9th, there'll be a nice little collection of them there. And then as the month goes on, of course, it gets darker. Yay. And all the fun stuff continues. But yeah, so that's it, what we're looking at for planets. So. Okay, the sun. So the sun right now, we are basically getting into solar maximum right now. Perfect time for us to release a solar telescope, right? I actually updated the sun page to show what a Heliostar 76, because we're going to start having them probably here soon. We will have Heliostars at NEAF, by the way. If you're going to be at NEAF, stop by, say hi, and look at the room. We may have some other stuff that I'm not able to tell you about yet, too. But we'll have Heliostar 76 there. This is shot through Heliostar 76. Thought I would update it and be more on brand for the sun. Sun's a great object to go out and observe. Please use the right solar filters. Do not use like a deep sky hydrogen alpha filter to substitute for something else. You need to use a dedicated solar filter to keep your eyes safe. And don't try to modify something to make that happen. But if you want to see what's going on the sun every day, I highly recommend going over to Gong, G-O-N-G. I just type in Gong, G-O-N-G, H alpha into Google, and it takes me here. These are updated pictures. So right now, there's not a lot going on at the moment. There's some really nice filaments and a nice active area over here. This filament, though, has been up there for a few days, and it's finally getting close to rotating around the edge. So we could get some cool stuff from that over the next couple days. And then there's some nice sunspots. If you have a white light filter, there's some really nice stuff going on. And most of us have a white light filter. That's usually the telescope that you start with. So white light's got some good views going on as well. If you have a calcium K filter, this would be probably pretty nice to see some detail in there. But please use absolute safety when observing the sun so you don't hurt your eyes. Let's see. Follow-up from the diagonal episode. Do certain eyepieces pair well with diagonal? For example, I've heard Masayama are excellent with prism diagonals. I don't know that any particular eyepiece pairing is better or worse with a certain diagonal. My understanding with the diagonals, particularly prisms, is longer focal length optics are more ideal for a prism. If you go faster, you can introduce all kinds of issues into the view when using a prism, because prisms do break light apart. So you definitely want to make sure that if you are getting a certain diagonal, that it's more important that you pair it to the telescope than the eyepieces. Speaking of diagonals, I thought I'd put my money where my mouth is. Let me just switch to full screen here, since we're all friends. In here somewhere, there's a button. There we go. I put my money where my mouth is, and I thought I would invest. Here is the Vernon Scope diagonals. This is a silver-coated diagonal, but these are built to order. They have been Liz over there, shout out to Liz, has been an absolute pleasure to work with. She'll be at NEAF with everyone as well. This just arrived before the webcast, so a really nice diagonal is a good investment. I'm going to have to try this one. But yeah, I've got the silver-coated one. I figured it was worth jumping into. But yeah, now there is this part where... There we go. Sorry. There is a part where having eyepieces that have a simpler optical design tend to be preferred because there's less glass. I have seen that. So for the diagonal, just to make this short, for the diagonal, it's more important that you pair it with the telescope so it meets whatever the telescope is doing. If you're using a telescope that's probably f8 or longer, a nice prism might be the better way to go because it reduces the scatter. Now, if you're faster than probably f7 or faster, then you really have to go with a mirror diagonal, because the prism is going to start doing some really funky things with faster optics, where the mirror is just going to reflect whatever the light path is coming through. Now, the smoother the mirror is, the less scatter there is going to be. So, I wanted to try the Vernon Scope diagonals because they are at least 1/20th wave after they have been coated. So that's pretty good. And they test them at 45 degrees. Every mirror is a little bit different. And just as someone who's just gotten one to tell you, so you get your diagonal. These are built to order from Vernon Scope. You call them up. It takes about a week. They have the mirrors generally on hand. They build them. They ship them to you. And then when you get them, you get the interferometry report for the mirror as well. So you know how good the mirror is on it. So they're at least 1/20th wave, and they can go better from there. It just depends on what gets picked. But simple eyepieces, less glass. I haven't seen an eyepiece do one way or the other. I've seen really good views with a very complicated Nagler and Ethos, and I've seen really good views with the Masayamas. I have a 15 millimeter one. They're nice. They're lightweight. I don't know that one is better than the other, though. So hopefully that helps out. So question, can anybody tell me that meteor shower will be tonight? There's no major meteor showers in February. That's actually the next slide here. So right here. Boom. Meteor showers. What's going on? Nothing. There are some tail end stuff coming out from the ones in January. Meteor showers. You can always go over to the American Meteor Society. they have a nice website that tells you all about the different meteor showers. But if there is something, you're probably just getting a tail end of something from January. So, but you can go over there and check it out. The next big meteor shower is not until April with the Lyrids. So hopefully that helps out. Let's see. Just got a Wave 150i. Excellent. Welcome. And of course, it's been cloudy ever since. Question: do I need to reverse the deck after flip? No, when you do the meridian flip on any of our mounts, it knows which direction it needs to go. I'm sorry if that didn't answer the right question, but you shouldn't have to flip anything. It'll know. The firmware knows which direction. If it's aligned correctly, it knows which way to go. So, let's see. Question: will there be smaller solar scope from Skywatcher, something below $1,000? I sure hope so. So a lot of people are asking. The Heliostar 76 is the first hydrogen alpha solar telescope for Skywatcher. It's a 76 millimeter. I certainly hope we have something lower in cost. I have nothing here to test. I've asked conversations with the engineers about it, but I have nothing confirming anything at right now. Is the 76 the only size? No. There are other sizes, but I don't have anything that's in that sub 1,000 category, but it would be really nice. But I have no breadcrumbs or nothing pointing me that that's happening right now. So sorry. Comets. So comets are fun little dirty snowballs that fly all around the sky. There's always one up, usually somewhere. I like to go to cometchasing.skyhound.com to get your latest and greatest on all the comets. They have a nice video that covers every month now. There's not a lot of big stuff going on comet-wise, particularly here in the northern hemisphere. The good one, that C2024 G3, is putting on quite a show in the southern hemisphere. We barely glimpsed it here in the north. But yeah, our friends in the southern hemisphere have some friends in Australia that are just killing it down there. But right now, there's not a lot on the comet front. We really lucked out with the nice comet that we got last year. The C2023 A3 Atlas put on a historical show. So we lucked out with something good last year. But right now for comets, there's not a lot. Everything that's up right now is telescopic, or you'll need a camera because it's getting in there. But that doesn't mean something won't occur. So things change all the time. Cometchasing.skyhound.com is a great resource to go to if you're trying to keep up with what's going on in the world of comets. So that would be my recommendation. Deep sky. This section is a little bit short because I'm trying to make room for all the target of the month stuff at the end. And also, if you have any more questions, I love answering your guys' questions. And the target of the month, or I'm sorry, the first episode of the month is a good time to just get all the nitty gritty stuff out of the way. If you have something technical, because generally we have room. So right now, a really fun one to go after, a lot of times it gets overlooked, is M1, the Crab Nebula in Taurus, about 6,500 light years away. It's not incredibly difficult to do, but a lot of times it looks like a little smudge. I have seen that cage-looking detail around it, but it was from very dark skies with a 25 or 28-inch telescope several years ago, and a UHC filter. Maybe even an H beta would be the way to go because they're very hydrogen heavy on those little filaments. So if you're going out to some dark skies and you've got access to a big telescope, try putting like an H beta or UHC to see if you can pop the detail out. Other than that, M1 a lot of times look like a little puffball, irregular smudge. Imaging wise, it can be a really fun one. It is quite small. So a lot of us that are imaging with wide angle optics, it's going to be tiny. So be aware that you're going to have to work with that. You may have to crop. This was taken at 1,000 millimeters and it is a cropped shot. but you can see there's that dark the filaments in there. This is an okay image. I've seen way better stuff from other people out there, but M1's a good target to go after right now for imaging and visual. Let's see. Should we be anticipating an increase in Skywatcher product prices due to recent tariffs? Not this time. We really have to see what gets applied. So with tariffs, every product that comes into the country is applied with a import code, harmonized tariff. It's called an HTS code. And every product, everything that is imported, there's a big list of these things. And as a distributor or manufacturer, whatever it is, you have, when you're setting up the product to be sold into market, you have to go set up the proper HTS code. Now, a lot of times with tariffs, they can either do a blanket tariff and say, hey, it covers everything from this, or sometimes it seems like a blanket tariff, but there are certain things that don't get hit as hard as other things, where it's a little bit more strategic. So telescopes is in this really weird section of the HTS codes, way down in there. So we'll see, but right now we have to see on what gets applied. But for the most part, I don't know yet. So. Okay, moving on. The Pleiades, M45. This is just a good all-around object. If you just got your first telescope, and I forgot to change the distance again. Sorry. So it's in the constellation of Taurus. It's 500 light years away, not 2,200 light years away. This is a very... What happened to... Never mind. We're going to move away from that slide. Sorry about that. Apparently, I fixed all the other ones except that one. So the Pleiades cluster is an open cluster in Taurus the Bull. If you got your first pair of binoculars or a telescope for the holidays, this is a fantastic object to go view. It's easy to see from your backyard. Even in a fairly light polluted sky, you can see it naked eye. It looks like a micro dipper is what it kind of looks like. And it's nearly straight overhead right now in the northern hemisphere. So it's easy to get. There's not really any filter that can work with this because all the nebulosity around it is a reflection nebula. So you really just need dark skies to see all that. Imaging wise, the Pleiades can be pretty interesting. The nebulosity is very delicate and there's some very nice detail in there. So darker skies, of course, are going to help you with that, but you can still get away with some in-town imaging. But again, there's no real filter that will help you here. Maybe like the Antlia tri-band RGB would help a little bit because it does pass some of the light, but it's going to clip some as well. But nothing ever will come to dark sky sites. And it's a fun one to shoot more zoomed in, or you can go super wide. It's a very flexible object to image. So that's the Pleiades. We all know it, but it's one that you have to look at every fall and winter. It's just a great object to look at. It's very easy to see too. The Rosette Nebula. Now, the NGC number that's up here, 2244, is one of several NGCs that are actually a part of the whole Rosette complex. Now, that's just the NGC number for this open cluster that's in the center of the nebula. Is NGC 2244 if we're being accurate. There's probably over half a dozen NGC designations for a variety of things inside of the Rosette Nebula. So the Rosette is a very, very large object. It's in the constellation of Monoceros. It's not terribly far from... Why is my camera disobeying? Let's see. Did it fix? There we go. Sorry, my camera wasn't listening. So the Rosette Nebula is a very, very large object. You're going to need a very wide field telescope to get the whole thing visually. But it's somewhat faint. I would recommend using like a UHC or O3 I have not experimented with an H beta filter though. It is heavy in the hydrogen, so an H beta might be a good way to go. It's very reactive with night vision. If you know someone who's got night vision, you can actually see it up there with just putting the filter in front of it. Even from light polluted skies, you can easily see it with just a 1x lens. Imaging wise, it's a very easy target. It's an emission nebula, so shooting narrowband is really effective. If you've got one of these dual band filters, like one-shot color dual band filters, that would work great on it. The cameras work really, really well with this. This is hydrogen alpha, just a stack of hydrogen alpha data at 1,000 millimeter. And you can see it got most of it, but it clipped it. And over here to the left, there is a tail that kind of extends far away from the nebula. So a really wide angle shot is, I think, the best way to approach this, but there's a lot of intricate detail inside of here that even long focal length can make the rosette really interesting. So that's a good one to actually take a look at and observe and see what you can get out of it. But the rosette is a very cool object to go after right now, but just keep in mind, big chunk of the sky for it. And of course, we have M42, the Orion Nebula. It's kind of a staple for all of us. 1,600 light years away. You can see this in nearly any sky. If you're in town and you want to pop it out a little bit more, an oxygen 3 filter or a UHC is like your best friends. It's so bright that it works very well with filters. And a pair of binoculars can show you stuff, a small telescope. Any optic here is going to work well when observing this nebula. And if you go to dark skies, it just gets even more impressive. And the bigger the telescope, the more impressive it gets. The Orion Nebula is one of these that are super flexible to work around visually, because it only gets better as you go to darker skies, and it just gets progressively more interesting with the more aperture that you throw on it. Imaging wise, it's a very easy target. You can actually do it with like a cell phone at this point because it's so bright. Although if you want to take an image like this, Orion can actually be pretty challenging because it's very easy to overexpose the core of the nebula. This region right here, routinely when you're imaging, and it doesn't take much, like even 60-second exposure, you'll start to blow out the core and not being able to get that inner trapezium and the details that sit within the nebula itself. So Orion can be a tricky one because there's a lot of faint detail that if you want to pull that out, you have to start learning how to blend different exposure times together. You're going to do these long, deep images to pull out the faint stuff, but then it blows out the core. And then you're going to do these short, probably 30 to 60-second exposures to bring out the core. And then you learn how to blend them together to give you one unified image like we see here. So that's where I'm saying Orion can be very easy to work with and can be very complicated to work with. But it's a great target to do learning on because it doesn't take a lot to get a nice picture of it. And I think a lot of us probably got our start shooting the nebula like this. So some cool stuff. And of course, right next door, my personal favorite, the Horsehead Nebula. This is right off the bright star Alnitak, which is this star right here in the belt of Orion, 1,600 light years away. Dark skies are an absolute must for this nebula. And the trick here is an H beta filter. You really need that. And even with the H beta filter, it can be challenging to get it. It really looks like a black thumbprint on black paper. And I find it's best done with like a large aperture telescope, particularly a Dobsonian, because A, you're going to get the aperture, but B, the way I find it really works is you get the telescope and you slowly move it side to side while you're looking through it, and you watch what moves with the telescope. And if your eye is waiting for it, you'll actually see the horsehead move with the rest of the field. It's way easier to catch on to where the object actually is. I have found, though, that it is a lot larger than people expect it to be. Even myself, I'm always surprised at how big the Horsehead actually is in the field of view in comparison to what you would think it would be. So you tend to be a lot bigger and closer to it than you might think. Imaging wise, however, it's easy. It's one of the easier targets to get. It still takes a fair amount of time to bring it out, especially when you want to get to the small, intricate details of this region. But it works really well. It's a great target for dark skies and one-shot color, which is what this is. But narrowband, some really nice pictures in just hydrogen alpha from the backyard in a monochrome camera. It comes out perfect. But I've seen amazing pictures with a sea star pulling this thing out. So it is an easy target photographically. It's a very challenging target imaging wise. So yeah, there you go. So you've got the Horsehead, then you have the Flame Nebula down here, and lots of detail up in there. It's really cool. I really like seeing the wide view of the Horsehead where you got everything in the field of view, because there's a lot of detail in the region. So definitely check it out. It's a great target to shoot with. Another challenging one, it's not technically in the constellation of Orion, but it is right off of the bright star Rigel, is the Witch Head Nebula. The Witch Head is a very challenging object. Visually, it's very difficult, and it's a reflection nebula, so there's nothing here that can help you as far as filters go. You just have to dig into it. Now, I have seen its bits and pieces of it visually from a very dark sky and a large telescope. You're basically, again, like the Horsehead, seeing what moves with the region. And under very dark, very transparent skies, you can start to make out the brighter regions like the nose and the lips and the chin. You can detect that there's something fairly ethereal in the region, but it can be, you'll never get a great view of it, but you can detect that there's something there floating around. Imaging wise, it is still quite challenging, but from a dark sky sight, you should be able to pick it up without much of an issue, especially with a modern telescope and camera. It's not a big deal, but it's a big object. So a really wide angle scope, probably somewhere between like 300 and 400 millimeter is probably what you want to do, obviously depending on the size of the sensor that's utilized. But it's a very interesting object. This is a mosaic I've been working on, and I haven't been able to finish the one last little bit right up here. I need to get our remote telescope running again. But this is shot with an Esprit 150 and a ZWO 6200 monochrome. This is just luminance, which looks really cool actually, but it's been kind of a pain putting it all together, but there's some really cool detail in there. Another one is Sharpless 308, the Dolphin Head Nebula. This is a bit low for some of our friends up north in Canada, or even not just in Canada, but any higher latitudes. It can be difficult to get this one because it sits fairly low, about 4,500 light years away from the Earth. Dark skies, this is really the only way you're going to get it visually. It is heavy in the O3, so using an oxygen 3 filter, you should probably be able to bring some of this detail out. Okay. And then imaging-wise, very heavy on the O3. There is some hydrogen in the region. This is a bit of a weird nebula. Most things have a lot of hydrogen in them. This does not have a ton of it, but it's very heavy in the oxygen 3. So this is one you're going to want to hit with a good O3 filter. So yeah, it's a fun one to go after, but it's down there and it's a bit challenging. Another one in the region is M46. This is Canis, down at Canis Major, about 5,000 light years away from the Earth. This one is good in dark skies, but the trick in here is there's also this little planetary nebula that's in the middle of the cluster. And the planetary is actually in the front of the cluster and not behind it. And it's very heavy in O3 as well. So a good oxygen 3 filter is a good way to go. And it's just a fun thing to pull out. But darker skies will help pull the nebula out. There's also a very, very tiny red planetary nebula in the region. I don't know if you guys can see it here. It's right here. I don't have a good shot of it at the moment. But anyway, it's right there. There's a little tiny one not far from the planetary. There's the other one there. That's very difficult to get visually. I had to use night vision and the 28-inch telescope with a hydrogen alpha filter to see it. And even then it was asking a lot. So visually, you need to pull out some real special stuff to make it happen, or need a seriously large telescope, or throw a camera on it and knock it out and call it a day. But that's M46 and 2 of its nebulas that are nearby in the region. Okay, so 11:42. We're wrapping this up pretty quick. Let's talk target of the month. Target of the month is something that we've been doing for a few years now, or TOTM. So if you've never done this before, we give you a challenging target each month to go after an image. You submit that and you get a patch. Now, every year we do a different patch, so that way it's unique to each year. This is the 2025 patch. We'll be getting these here soon. And once the shipment comes in, we'll get everyone who entered in January all their patches out there. But this will be the 2025 patch, and this is what you'll be getting. So we'll get those out here soon. They are adhesive on the back as well, so if you want to stick them to something, you can do, or you can sew them onto whatever you want. But they're pretty nice quality stuff. And we did the Barnard loop for January, so I will get all those images together and we'll get the list. And once we get those patches, we will make sure you get your stuff out. Everybody in December, we'll be getting that out in the next week or so. And we did go through anybody who was missing patches from 2024. We've added you to that December shipment list. So you should be getting them if you didn't, for whatever reason, didn't get them. I find it odd that people are not getting patches because we go through those lists pretty tightly and mail all of them. So it seems like stuff's getting lost in the mail or something. But there's some names that pop up that it's kind of interesting that they're not getting it because I know we mail them. So anyway, we'll get that cleared up and taken care of for you. Question: how to tell if a scope is properly acclimated for viewing? Well, if you look through it and everything looks like it's boiling and you can't get a nice sharp image, it's normally because it's not acclimated. And if it's producing really nice sharp images, it's probably acclimated. So you'll be able to tell if the views it's either the seeing isn't great or the scope's not acclimated when the images are not just snapping into place. If you just set the telescope up and it's only been out there for a half hour to an hour, give it another hour or so. And if the images really sharpen up, then it's acclimated. If it's still not looking good, it might be the seeing. Usually you can tell the seeing is bad if the stars are flickering really a lot in the sky. That's how you can tell the seeing isn't stable. If the stars are very stable and there's very low flickering, you can know the seeing is pretty good. And if the images are not snapping into place, the scope might not be acclimated. So there you go. All right, let's talk about February 2025's totem target. This one is really difficult. This is LBN 777. So the Baby Eagle Nebula. This is not far from the Pleiades cluster. It is a molecular cloud, so there is no filter that will help you here. Just dig into it. Dark skies are very, very helpful with this particular target. So give it a try. LBN 777. This is the February 2025 target of the month. And we'll see what you guys can get. Don't be afraid to really hop on these targets. They're supposed to be challenging. They're supposed to push you off the normal Messier catalog and be difficult. They're supposed to challenge your processing skills. That's the whole point of it. So don't be afraid to throw time on these things and give it a go. So that's the totem target for February 2025. Okay, so target of the month. I'm going to bring up something really quick because there's been a couple little changes that need to be applied. I don't know why I'm doing this because I already have this window open. It's just over here. Boop. If you want to know more about Totem, head over to skywatchusa.com, and up at the top, we've moved it. You'll see Totem, TOTM. Going to click that. Here you go. So we've changed some of the rules here for this year to help streamline things. We have a lot of people who send links and transfer files. I get that some of the raw images are rather large. If we could try to shrink those down, we just need to know that the date is there. And the new thing now is when you submit your picture, we need you to submit it as a JPEG. RGB max resolution is 1912 by 1080. That way we can get a nice picture and it easily comes through the email system and doesn't get stuck or lost. We've had to dig back through and pull things up to show our finalists. So to streamline that, make it easier for everyone, if you could follow that. If you need to go figure out what the rules are, head over to skywatchusa.com, hit Totem up at the top, and there's the official rules. All the pictures for each month are down below for reference, and you can go in there and pick the target and stuff like that. Does Stellarium show that object 777? I have no idea if Stellarium does. I guess I have Stellarium open. I could actually LBN 777. It does. So there you go. It's literally above the Pleiades, not far from Attic, the bright star Attic. So, but it's in Taurus technically. So give it a go. But yes, it does. It does show it. All right. So the way that usually works is target of the month. You would get you send in your image. In response, we send you back a patch, and that's what you get. Now, this year, we upped the ante a bit, and we've now made it into an official imaging contest. Now, there are 12 images picked throughout the year. We try to do it once a month. Sometimes there's more than one on a given month, and sometimes there's less on a given month. Each month did have a top 12 poll, but some had more, and then we had to bring it down to the final 12, so there might be some duplicate objects. But our final 12, every single person will be receiving a code to get a limited edition Totem hat. And all the runners up that I'm about to show will all be getting one of these codes. We'll also be emailing you this code. It's a one-time use. And you'll get a limited edition target of the month hat with the logo and maybe the date. They haven't finalized the design on it yet. All 12 of the top 12 will get that. And then the top 3 will get the actual stuff. Oh, there is no code. I'm sorry. We'll actually be sending you a hat. So never mind. I thought there was going to be a code, but that has changed. So we'll be getting hats and then sending them to you. So never mind. You'll get an email about that. Everyone who's about to be announced, you're going to get an email saying congratulations, blah, 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 blah. So the first 9 images I'm about to show you are all of our runners up, or the best images of the year. So again, thank you for everyone who went along with this. If you're not watching, you're going to get an email. I'm going to go to full screen mode and get my head out of the way so you guys can see all the pictures. So here we go. So great shot there. I'm still here, by the way. I'm just letting you guys take a look at the pictures. And these are all of our runners up. And then we're going to get to the final 3 here in a second. So thanks for everyone who came in and cooperated with TOTM. This is the first time we've actually made it a contest. So now the next 3 images were our judge picks. So the way this works is you guys send in your stuff. We go through each month and find the top 1 or 2 images per month, and we put that in a winning file. Once that set is compiled, we then send it to our guest judges. And our guest judges this year were Richard Wright, who we've had on before, Trevor Jones of Astro Backyard, and Ron Brecher, who we've also had on. So they were our judges that picked the top 3 winning images. So third place is a $500 gift card to our website. Second place is a $1,000 gift card, and third place is a $3,000 gift card. And our winners will be getting a special code that we will be reaching out to you directly about that. So third place, congratulations to Fred. You won a $500 gift card code to Skywatch USA's website to apply to anything that you might like off the website there. So congratulations. A great headphone shot. Color's really nice. Stars look good. Excellent work. So thank you for putting it in. So second place, this goes to Steve. This image right here, galaxies are very hard to process. And there's a lot of very faint detail, particularly in Stefan's quintet. And the framing of this was very well done. So very good to Steve. Very good processing. Very nice framing. So congratulations. You won $1,000 to the Skywatcher website to apply to anything that you'd like on there. And finally, our first place grand prize winner and the winner of $3,000 gift card to the Skywatch USA website is Naveen with this mind-blowing shot of the comet this past year. This thing was awesome, and these were the picks of our final judges. So thank you very much to everyone who does Target of the Month. We hope you've been enjoying it. We're trying to make it even better. So all of our runners up, you will be getting a hat. The top 3 winners will be getting a hat, and then the top 3 winners, we will also be getting all that. So thanks everyone who's been a part of that. We definitely appreciate it. And we'll be sending out confirmation emails to everybody. There's a couple questions in here, but that is it for this month. Come on, computer. There we go. That's it for this month. If you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like on a video. Title it What's Up if you have an idea. We definitely appreciate all of you being a part of it and hanging out with us every Friday. Next week's episode, we're going to go over an oldie but a goodie, our HEQ5 mount. It's the only mount in our lineup that we haven't done an overview episode on, and it's been around for a while, but we figured it deserves some love. So we're going to give it its own episode and talk about the HEQ5 mount and all that it has to offer. So thanks again for watching. You guys have some questions here. What is a good mount for a C8 for quick backyard observing? The C8 that I have here, I haven't tried it on the Wave 100i. It should work, but the Wave 150i throws it around without a problem. So yeah, I would probably say the strain wave mounts are pretty nice because they are very lightweight and easy to work with. The AZEQ5 is not a bad mount pick at all either, but the Wave 100i is awfully convenient. It's a lot lighter weight, so I might lean towards the strain wave side. That's a lot of talking. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Congratulations to all the Target of the Month winners. We will be sending emails out to you if you're not watching, so you do know that you got something. But yes, thank you very much. They already answered that. So, okay. Great. Thanks everyone for watching. Really appreciate you hanging out. Congratulations to all the Target of the Month winners. And we really appreciate it. So thank you very much. We will see you guys next week as we review the HEQ5, and have a great weekend. Stay safe and clear skies, everyone. See ya. Bye.